I need you all to understand that you have nothing to prove to anybody. Ooh, welcome back to the channel, y'all. It's your girl, Soulspiration. And in today's video, do I got a story for you. Thank you for liking this video. And thank you for joining the Soul Tribe, where we step out of the matrix and into our divinity. It's story time. The story begins like this. It's my sophomore year of college. It's the end of the soccer season at UC Merced. It's probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I walk into the office, I sit down. The minute my butt hits the seat, they said, Sadiqa, we want to thank you for your time, but you will not be returning next year to the team. And immediately my heart sank. Now, there had been a lot of things that happened prior leading up to that very moment, but I don't really want to get into all those details. I did ask why, and their reasoning was something to the effect of there's just complaints on the team and this and that and blah, 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 blah. Just know that that conversation right there, it was a domino effect of all of the unnecessary that's to come. As you can imagine, that didn't sit very well with me. And so I decided that I was going to throw a little temper tantrum. I was going to ignore my coaches. I decided that I was going to transfer schools. I mean, I was hurt. I worked really hard in my high school career to make my club team in my native city, to get scouted to play collegiate soccer, just for me to get cut halfway through my collegiate career. I knew right away I was going to transfer. There's no way I was staying there. So I said, I'm going to transfer schools. I'm going to find a new team to play on, and you suckers will be sorry. Was my mentality. 21-year-old Sadiqa was like, you suckers are going to be sorry. Please. That was really how I felt. Also hurt and upset. I started sending highlight reels of all of my soccer footage. I was messaging coaches left and right. I was applying to different schools left and right. I applied to a school called UC Riverside. And it was so funny because I was sitting in class and I got a notification, congratulations, you've been accepted. And I thought, oh my God. And I was like, I got accepted to a new UC. I'm going, period, the end. And I'm going to walk on to that team. I'm going to try out and I'm going to make that team. Mind you, it took a lot of effort and work just to get the coach's attention. I sent email after email after email after email after email. And eventually, I was able to get the coach's attention. I mean, he was literally ignoring me. I called, left voicemails. I was relentless. I finally got a hold of the coach, and he invited me out to preseason. Mind you, I'm already accepted into the school. I've already made the transfer. So I'm working hard. I'm training with the girls. I'm doing, 2-a-days, meaning practice early in the morning and then practice in the afternoon. This goes on for about 4 weeks. And the coach, at the end of that 4 weeks, brought me to the side and said, Sadiqa, we want to thank you for your consistency of coming out here, but we don't think this is going to be a good match for us. And once again, I was devastated. I went home and I cried to my parents, and I just felt so defeated. I felt like I left one school to go here to get cut, and I worked all summer to be able to prove myself in that preseason. I trained in the heat that summer prior to going to preseason. I did it all, okay? And it didn't work out. And I was back at home, kind of just really sad about it. And I had, like at least a month or so before school even started to really just think things over. And in that time, I felt really embarrassed. I thought that I was going to be able to rub it in somebody's face. I thought I was going to be able to do a few things. I also didn't know what the girls on that team were going to think. And lo and behold, after my parents pep talked me and told me that they were still proud of me and everything like that, I started school at the new UC, and the girls were kind of looking at me like, what happened to you, and I just remember thinking, ask the coach. He's the one who cut me. They didn't. Anyway, I remember one of the girls was like, "Girl, I heard what happened. You're brave for still being here even after getting cut. Like that's embarrassing." And I'm like, "Oh, she was obviously on the same mental page I was on because I definitely thought it was embarrassing and so my feelings were definitely valid. I remember some girls from the other my other school, they were kind of hitting me up like,
Hey, I saw that you got accepted to UCR. Are you going to play for them?
when they started reaching out to me, mind you, I had already been cut. So I told them like, "Oh, they actually decided to redshirt me, so I'm actually gonna probably play later." But it was none of their business anyway because they didn't stick up for me when I got cut. So that that's me talking right now. Like, no, I don't owe y'all nothing. So after that, I decided that I was mad at the coach at UC Riverside. Like, you shouldn't have cut me because I really could have really risen to the occasion like I have in every other area of my life. But you cut me. So I was mad. I was upset. I thought he was kind of an a-hole, and I thought I'm gonna try for something else. I'm gonna show you. There's a theme going on here, isn't there? So I decided to try out for the track team. Mind you, I've never ran track a day in my life. But I do remember every time I played soccer, people were like, "Oh, Sadika, you're so fast. You should try out for the track team." So, okay, I did. I made the track team. I remember some of the soccer girls from the new school were looking like, "Is she on the track team now?" Team, I decided to be a sprinter, and I was placed in the 400-meter dash. Man, slowly but surely, I started to realize this is tough. This is not easy work. This is not that fun. It's not as fun as soccer. Something crazy had to happen for me to realize, for me to move. Once I was on the track team, I made some friends. And one Saturday, we decided we were going to drive to the beach. So this girl, she was a freshman. Mind you, I'm a junior. She's the only one with a car. I didn't have a car in college. She drives us to the beach on a Saturday. It's me, her, and two other girls on the jumping team. We're on the freeway. She's swerving in and out of cars, trying, showing off. Next thing you know, we are rear ended in the back of a car out of nowhere. And I didn't have a seatbelt on. This car was super old. I remember trying to put the seatbelt on, but it just wasn't going across my body. So I was just like, YOLO, quite literally YOLO. And we get into a car crash. We hit the back of that car so hard that my jaw hits the dashboard and I'm at the ER. I could get into detail on that story, but I'm not going to. It was painful. It was terrifying. My parents came up to visit me once they learned I was in a car crash, and they were just so grateful that I was alive. We went back to school. The track coach had found out what happened, and we told him about the car crash, and he says, "Okay, Sadiqa, I want you to rest. You need to rest, you need to recover, and when you're ready to go, follow all the doctor's orders, and when you're ready to come back, you can join us again." And I said, "Okay." I remember as soon as I got to rest, I thought, "Oh my God, this is so nice." Like not having to wake up at 6 a.m. to run on the track, not having to practice on Saturdays. Like, this is amazing. And I thought, I don't think I want to run track anymore, but I stuffed it down. I stuffed that feeling down. And one morning, one early morning at 3 a.m., I'm woken up by anxiety. And I'm thinking about how much I just don't want to run track anymore. And I'm thinking, what's everybody going to think? What's the coach going to think? And I was so anxious and concerned by this epiphany that was literally God telling me, move on, don't do this anymore. This is not for you. That I had to call my mom. So I called my mother at 3 a.m. Bless your heart. Love you, Mom, for answering the phone, as you always do. And I said, Mom, I'm concerned that I just realized I don't want to run track anymore. But there were already signs. There were already signs. The signs were that during winter break, when you have to train to keep your physical fitness going, I had zero desire to train the way I had desire to train for soccer. There were signs, but I wasn't taking heed. I said, Mom, I don't want to run track anymore, but I don't know what to do. And she said, "Sweetie, you have to do what feels best for you, and you have to let the coach know that you don't want to run track anymore." I thought, "Oh my God." So that night I decided, okay, I'm going to tell the coach I don't want to run track anymore, and that's it. After I decided that I wasn't going to run, I waited a couple of days towards the end of that week, emailed the coach. I said, "Hey, when can we meet?" He says, "Let's meet this week." Later that week, I met him in his office and I told him, "Hey, I think I need to rest my body." I was using my injury as an excuse, really. And I said, "I just want to be able to perform at the best of my abilities." And I think I had time to think. I realized that this is not for me. And he graciously understood. But it took a car crash. It took me seatbeltless in a front seat. It took me smashing my jaw in the front of a dashboard, rear ending a car, getting severe TMJ, meaning your jaw is like, my jaw was stiff for 2 weeks. I couldn't open my mouth for 2 weeks to realize that I was saving face, and for what? For who? It took that for me to realize you're not living your life for you. You're trying to save face. You're running away from reality. You're moving out of anger. You're moving out of fear. You're moving out of ego. Stop it. Cut it out. Just stop. And sometimes life will slow you down that way. Sometimes life will force you to look at things because you're not being honest with yourself. So a couple of things happened. I got kicked off UC Merced's team. I was hurt. I was angry. I was so hurt and angry from getting kicked off my first school that I transferred schools to prove a point. I'll show you. Then I get to this next school, try super hard, train for it just for the opportunity to train in preseason to get cut from that team. I was so upset. I said, "I'll show you." Then I go try out for the track team, make that team, just for me to realize I didn't really like it. I was trying to prove a point. Later, for me to realize that soccer wasn't even my focal point anymore. I didn't even really want to compete at that level anymore. My sophomore year at UC Merced, my original school that kicked me off that team, I was losing interest. I didn't even really want to compete that much anymore, even there. But because my ego was so hurt, and because I was so, my whole identity was placed around, being on the team. I was number 4. Everyone knew me by my jersey number. I was so caught up with that and, enjoying myself in the beginning. But as time went on, I realized I didn't want to be on that team anymore. There was a lot that went on, and the signs were there in my spirit, but I just thought I'll just keep pushing because I'm already here. I might as well keep playing. So I was already feeling that way at UC Merced just to get kicked off that team. Moved out of anger and ego to go to another school to not make that team, and then to go play another sport I had zero interest in. That's a lot of ego. That's a lot of nonsense. When I finally had the chance to sit with my thoughts and my feelings and get a break from all of the moving and trying to make it all happen, all because of the car crash, all because of that car crash. Not only do I not want to run track, but I stopped wanting to compete with soccer months ago. But it wasn't my focal point anymore, and I didn't have the same level of interest that I did my first and second year of college. If there's anything you get from this story, I want you to understand that you have nothing to prove to anybody. You have one life to live, and you have to live it in the way that you feel called to live. Stop trying to save face to impress people, because chances are they don't even really care anyway. Everybody's got their own thing going on. We're all wrapped up trying to get our lives together, and we're all worried about how we're presenting ourselves. No one really cares as much as we think they do. I was so embarrassed about getting cut from the second team. I was telling people I got redshirted. That's not what happened. I got cut. Like, I could have just told people that, but I was so worried about what people thought. And I'm going to give myself, I have grace for 21-year-old Sadiqa because she needed to see all of that. She needed to go through all of that just to realize what people think doesn't matter. I've got nothing to prove to anybody. I'm going to live life on my own terms because I have to live life in a way that I feel called to, and you have to live life in a way that you feel called to. The second lesson from this is that do not make decisions out of anger, fear, or ego, because you'll do all that I did. You'll go here, here, there, jumping around because you have a point to prove, because you're hurt, because you want to get out of the situation, instead of sitting with it and deciding what is it that I really want anyway. Had I sat with being cut from the team my first year, I think I would have been okay. I think I would have enjoyed the rest of my collegiate I would have enjoyed the rest of my collegiate experience, and I didn't have to be on the official team, but there was just some things that were hurting me so much that I had to leave. I didn't want to be reminded that I wasn't on the team anymore. Two girls actually the first year got cut, and they were really sad, but they stayed. They stayed. And I realized I could have stayed too. Great school, you know, I could have stayed, but I had to go through that for her to learn her lesson. And I think it all happened the way it was supposed to, because then I got into some new situations that helped me learn some things as well. So everything happens for a reason. But if you can avoid missteps, remember that you've got nothing to prove, and remember to not move out of anger, ego, or fear. Stop and sit with the situation first before you make a decision. And once you've sat with your emotions, you've processed everything, you've considered all there is to consider, then that is when you make a decision. I moved out of pain, and I moved out of fear of what everyone was going to think about me. It's not worth it. Tanika today is going to say, oh, well, I don't owe anybody all my business, but I'm sure as heck not going to be twisting and turning just to save face. Mm-mm. So please save yourself the time, the headache, the unnecessary, and focus on what works best for you. That's all I got for you guys today. I felt really compelled to tell this story because A, I've never told it before. And B, there is a huge lesson in here for me that I'm recalling at 30 years old. I'm remembering 21-year-old Sadiqa, or excuse me, 19-year-old Sadiqa, 19, 20-year-old Sadiqa, and what she was doing back then, how I thought, how I moved. And man, there's a lot of growth there. So if this can save you from making any unnecessary decisions, please let this video serve as that for you. Okay, so that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you joining the Soul Tribe, subscribing, and liking this video. This is a place where I give you perspective and wisdom from lived experiences, and I hope that you find it helpful. This is where we step out of the matrix and into our own divinity. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.